everyone. I'm Mackenzie Lane from the Burbank International Film Festival. Today, we're continuing our interview series Beyond the Frame with Emmy-nominated actress and multifaceted artist, Melora Hardin. She stars in the first one-person film, Golden Vanity, which is one of this year's official feature film selections. The film is directed by Max Abram and set in Hollywood in 1967. It follows fated movie star Mabel Montgomery-Mayflower over the course of one night when she decides to record her life story before it's too late. We're thrilled to have Golden Vanity as the festival's opening feature film. It's as equally delightful as it is heart-wrenching, and it's an acting masterclass. I'm so excited to be speaking with the star herself, Melora Hardin. Hi, Melora. How are you?
How are you? I'm good. Thank you.
So let's dive in, and I'd love to hear in your words, tell us about Golden Vanity and Mabel Montgomery-Mayflower.
Well, Mabel is, as you said in your intro there, a faded movie star, who, a la kind of Judy Garland, who has really lived the life of Hollywood, but also sort of vicariously through many people who have had the fantasy and the dream kind of for her and manipulated very much of her kind of understanding of herself. And I think ultimately this is the moment when she finally kind of gets into an intimate relationship with Mabel, with like who she really is. Because I think she's been told and she's been shaped and she's been, you know, sort of manipulated, as I said, into this person that she's become, because really Hollywood was sort of the main character in her life as a human being, I mean. And so yeah, it's a story about this person who's kind of at the sort of the crux and the crosshairs of sort of a momentary sort of self-realization and all the horrors and all the delights and of her life kind of coming together in this one moment, this 1 hour really of her. It's like a couple of hours of her life that we're seeing.
Right. And how did you get involved in this project?
Well, I got Max Abram, who directed it and co-wrote it with Taylor Minus, who was the co-writer and the producer. They wrote me a beautiful letter to my agents, just saying that they thought that I was the person to play Mabel. And it was really quite a love letter, I have to say. It was very touching. And, it inspired my agent to say, you should read this. You should read the script. They're young filmmakers and they really think you're amazing. And I had taken, I think, 3 or 4 one-person show writing classes up to this point. So my agent knew that this was something that I actually was interested in, doing a one-person show. And, he'd never seen anything like this for a film. And, Taylor and Max were adamant that this was going to be their film. This was going to be the film that they made. And, I read the scripts and I thought, wow, they're smart, they're funny, they're poignant, they're, as writers, it was so deep and rich and reverent also of a kind of time gone by, and yet also very gritty and heart-wrenching, as you said, and gentle and sad and soft and delightful as an actor, just to have the meat of all of that to deliciously chew on. So I said, well, let me go meet them. And I sat down with them, and they were delightful people as well as talented artists. I could tell they were very focused. I could tell they were going to be great to collaborate with. They were able to listen, and they were able to hear, and they were able to converse, and and yes and so I just thought, this is going to be great. I think we should do this, and so we rehearsed for 2 weeks, Max and I, in a different location. Then we shot the whole thing in 5 days.
Wow. So
Yeah.
serendipitous that you were looking for a project like this and then it came to you.
It was kind of incredible. I mean, the classes that I took were I would say over at least a decade, maybe more. So that's something I've been kind of toying with for a very long time. And then for them to find me and to be so bold in the way that they came after me was, and I mean, I still to this day actually probably need to ask them at some point, like, I mean, why out of all of the people, it still to this day baffles me that I got so lucky, because I really do feel like it was such a joyful experience from start to finish. It really was. I'm really excited that people are going to get to see it at Burbank International Film Festival.
Well, we're so excited to show it, and watching it, it totally makes sense why they thought you were the only woman for the job. I want to get a little bit more into Mabel's character. Her accent is so distinct. What was your process for developing it? And I'm curious, did you keep the accent in between takes or did you drop it?
No, I don't think I kept the accent between takes. Max Abram and I, as I said, we did a 2-week long rehearsal. And one of the things that we were really trying to find was, what did she sound like? And Max really wanted her to sound like that kind of mid-Atlantic Katharine Hepburn, kind of the way that all those old time movie stars really, they spoke with that sound. And so I listened to and watched some old movies again. I mean, I love old movies. So I watched a lot of those and kind of listened to Rosalind Russell and just kind of what was that sound and where did she land? And we just played around. I'm also a singer, so I think I'm able to hear tone really well. I'm able to kind of get inside of accents quite well. So there's a musicality, obviously, to the sound of her voice. And it was just sort of finding that very subtle place, because it is kind of subtle, it's not British and it's not American, and it's yeah. So that's how we found it. And yeah, it was one of the delightful things about creating her.
Wow, I'm impressed that you were able to switch in between your voice and her voice, because her accent is just so distinct and so good. And not only did you do her accent, you have very distinct voices for the different characters you refer to in the film. So I'm curious what your process was for finding those voices as well.
Yeah, I mean, again, Max and I worked hard to kind of make everyone really, really separate. And it was also really helpful for me because it is so much dialogue that as soon as everything, like I'm really good at memorizing lines. This is just not a hard thing for me. And the more specific you can be, as you're making your choices and the specificity of each of those characters, it's not just their voices. It's like I have a whole person in my head. I know what they look like. I know what they're wearing. I know what they smell like. I know where we were together in the memory that I'm sharing and contemplating. That I'm recounting for you. I know where we are when I'm telling you that. And so those things are the things that basically fed the voice. And Max would reflect back to me, he feels a little more, he feels more this, or he feels more that. And we would just play with things, and we would just sort of, it was just really highly collaborative, mirroring me things, suggesting things, trying things, falling flat, and then going, yeah, that's not. And then when you can't grasp it, when you can't hold on to it, it's not right. It's not right. That's really the thing, is when you found it, you can hold on to it. You can come back to it. And it's very, very important for those long stories, because I do sometimes come back to somebody that I talked about, 10 minutes ago. I have to make sure that it's still that same voice.
That makes sense. And it's a lot of dialogue, so it makes sense that you're great at memorizing. I'm curious, how long were the takes typically?
Well, sometimes they were 45 minutes long.
Wow.
Yeah, we sometimes did. I mean, we did nice, long, big chunks because Bryce Fortner, who was the DP, and I were really like doing a dance together. And Max was so great at, creating a blueprint and letting everyone rip, and it's like, there as an actor, and I think for Bryce too, I once one time heard Ron Shelton talking about White Man Can't Jump, and someone was saying to him, how did you get such incredible performances out of everybody? And he said something like, actors, like good actors can be good in something, but they can't be great unless you make them feel like they are never going to get a slap on the hand, or they're never going to get, that they can try everything and anything and never be told that they're foolish or be shamed, because you have to be able to really reach far to find those surprising places. And I think Max was really incredible at that, at just giving me absolute permission, and Bryce, to play and find it. And sometimes the camera was like down here, and sometimes it was up here, and sometimes it was circling around me. And Bryce and I got to where, I mean, he was seeing me, obviously, he was watching so closely, but I wasn't even aware he was there, which was just, he was incredible at that. And Max was incredible at making both Bryce and I feel very brave to just be courageous and just go for whatever. Yeah, so sometimes those takes needed to be super long, because you get into a flow and you get into a zone, really, where if you were to be doing it in little 5-minute chunks or little 3-minute chunks or little this line, that line, and then moving the camera and setting it up perfectly. And that's just not the way this movie was made. It was made much more organically and instinctually and intuitively. And Max too, behind the camera, watching the monitor, very intuitive. And I think Taylor and Max worked really well together too. So they had each other's support and each other's, the sort of bouncing things, ideas off of each other. And they could bring me something at the last minute and say, just thought of this. And I'd be like, great, and like throw that in, or, that was why the takes were sometimes so long. And also just really important for me to kind of get through a full through line of a story, from start to finish, rather than, because some of those things are so emotional too, that it just couldn't really work as a stop-start situation quite as, I think, powerfully as it did.
That makes sense. I know you said the filming took 5 days and it takes place during night. So I'm curious, were there mostly night shoots?
No, mostly, no, all during the day. We blacked everything out. Well, not all during the day. There was a little bit of night. Yeah, but it was mostly during the day. Mm-hmm.
Movie magic for you.
Yes, exactly.
Since you grew up in the business, how much did Mabel's story resonate with you, and how did it impact you?
Well, I started acting professionally when I was 6 years old, and I come from a family of actors. Obviously, I had an amazing, experience as a child actor. I had an amazing upbringing with it, because my parents were really focused on the craft. They weren't focused on fame, and they were focused on me being an artist. That was really what was revered in my family. In Mabel's family, obviously, what is revered is the fame and the money and the success. And that's not to say that she's not talented, because I think she is, but also her parents come from vaudeville. So, it's a whole different kind of world. And it's just a more almost circusy kind of world in a way. And, just what we know of vaudeville, when we look back, I think it was a pretty seedy world. I definitely, as a child actor, saw the kids that had the parents that were really living vicariously through them. And those kids, I would say pretty much all of them, not all of them, but some of them that were working all the time as kids, they just left the business, because I think that when they became older and it just was too much pressure. I mean, too much pressure, it's a really unique thing to do as a child, to be a working child, where you're a professional, but you're also still a child. I think I saw kids that, the parents were just so into the business that it did kind of mess them up. And my parents were really adamant that I was going to still have a childhood, and that I was going to have, I would say, a somewhat normal childhood. I mean, really even though I spent a lot of time on sets, and a lot of time doing, school on sets, and I was lucky and maybe even somewhat intuitive in my own mind that I didn't become famous as a child. That happened later in my life was better for me, because, and I think I had some wisdom about that. I think I held fame back for quite a long time. You know, I think I didn't really want it until I realized that it's just a great thing to be able to have opportunities to work with people that are along, like your peer group, that are as good, if not better than you, because then you just get to reach further and you get to, you know, get challenged more. And fame is just really only great, in my opinion, for that you get to work with better people on better projects. You have more opportunities. The rest of it isn't that interesting to me. So, and we get to see, right, that with Mabel's family, that was the thing, that was it. So a lot of her desires as a human being and as an artist just fell to the wayside. She didn't really ever get to play that stuff out. Yeah.
That's really interesting. I'm also curious, there's so many funny, poignant, brilliant lines in the film. I was writing some of them down because I'm like, this is incredible screenwriting. Do you have a favorite line or moment from the film, or both?
Oh my gosh. I have so many. I really do have so many moments. I mean, I'm talking about moments. I just think when she sings to, you know, to her daughter and remembers back to her being a child, like a baby, it's both funny and heartbreaking. And I love that. And that song is a song that my father used to sing to me. And we were trying to find a song that would be right for, you know, just for that moment. And ultimately became the title of the film. I think that Max and Taylor and I were just like, what? Like the lyrics were just so perfect, and it was so sad and yet so sort of like a story of yeah, just being left, I guess, being abandoned. And that's really kind of what happened there for her, for Mabel, and also what Mabel, you know, Mabel's relationship with her daughter. It was just sort of like stranded. It's this feeling of being stranded. And so anyway, I love that moment. Yeah. And as far as lines, I feel like the one where she says about the sat down with the reporter at the gala, and you know, he's already written my obituary, and he says it's really tedious to have to brush it off every year and add new things. That's ridiculous, and fabulous. And then also just hello, this is the phone. When she answers, hello, this is the phone. She answers the phone. That's pretty great. What were yours? You wrote down a couple?
Yes. I love the why do you think that carpet's red? There's a lot of blood on those fancy shoes. Of course, I have a lot of mood swings. I'm an actress. I can't tell a story without a drink in my hand. You wouldn't go to war without a sword, would you? I'm like, who wrote this film? I like immediately was like looking at their IMDb because I'm like, this is incredible screenwriting.
Max and Taylor, I'm telling you, they're quite a duo. Wow. Yep. Yep. They really are. I hope we can keep going. I want to do more with them. I hope we can. They're just so talented.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Uh,
Okay, so speaking of the incredible writing, the whole time I was watching it, I couldn't stop thinking about how incredible it would be as a play. And now that I know that you were doing 45-minute takes, do you have any interest in adapting this into a live show?
you know, it's been brought up. Yeah. I mean, I think, you know, I don't think that's an impossibility. I think that could be very interesting. That could be very interesting. Yeah. I like the idea.
That's exciting to hear.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice for aspiring actors or filmmakers?
I mean, I would just say, you know, do it. Just do it. Do as much as you can, and as much as you can. There's so many ways to make things now. There's so much available now. People say to me, someone I met the other night who said, you know, my daughter, my daughter just has such a cute personality and she's so cute. And I think she'd make a great actress. And I was like, you know, like there are many ways to exploit a cute personality and a cute looking girl. And people don't understand, right, that being a filmmaker and being an actor, being a writer, it's a really tough business. I mean, you see this in Golden Vanity, you see how tough it is, but there are things about it, obviously, that are extreme in Mabel's case, but it's true also. And even when you have success, like I have success, it's difficult. So I would say you have to really want it. You have to want it like you can't live without it. And that doesn't mean that you're not going to be able have to sometimes do other things, maybe, that would support and supplement it. But I also think that if you don't have the right personality for it, if you don't have resilience and you don't have a tough skin, but you also have to be so sensitive under that tough skin, and you have to be able to shed the toughness at the right times, but you need the toughness and the resiliency at other times. So I would say cultivate your humanity, cultivate your understanding of who you are, and because you have to be the right personality, the right person to be able to withstand the extremes of the business, and then just really evaluate how much you're willing to sacrifice and how much you like it. Like, I don't suffer a lot. I'm sort of like, I'm good working, I'm good not working. I have a lot of creative outlets that I've created for myself. I don't feel that like me as an actress is who I am, everything about who I am. And that if I fail there, or if I fail sometimes, or if I succeed sometimes, then that has like meaning about me. I'm much more, like, it's an easy ride for me in a way, the ups and the downs, because there are so many ups and downs. And I guess in a weird way, I sort of, because of my parents, I think they laid a really great groundwork there. And also, like, what is the priority, right? For me, it's like family and, my kids and my husband and my life, my humanity. So, and you have to bring that humanity to your work. I personally can't, that has to be first for me, because that is what informs all of my characters and all of the things that I make creatively, my art and my characters and my directing and it all is informed by that first and foremost. So I guess that would be the main advice, just because the other advice, which I could give, is advice everybody gives. So I don't really need to go down the path that everybody else will give. Everyone else will give the other advice, which, you can find on a million articles, but that would be my advice, would be like, protect and nurture your humanity, and also be mindful of the doors that are opening. And when they open, walk through them. And if you're constantly getting doors shut in your face, turn somewhere else. Don't be a person who just slams your head against a wall. Like, keep finding the doors that are going to open, and the doors that are going to open, there's going to be other doors that open. And even when you have some idea about, well, that's not the door I want to go down. Well, if it's even like far right or left from where you thought you were going down the middle, like, why don't you try it and see if maybe it's going to open another door that's going to help turn you a little more towards where you thought you were heading. Follow the breadcrumbs.
That's amazing advice. Thank you for sharing that. And my last question is, what creative projects are you currently working on, and how can people see them?
Well, at the moment, the creative projects I'm working on are my wallpaper and my fine art collages. So that's what I'm doing, and people can find them. Let's see. If they're in Montreal on November 4th, I am doing my first fine art show of my fine art collages at a gallery called Galerie Le Royer. That's November 4th of this year. And then in the meantime, I have wallpaper from my collages that is on my website, which is melora.com, and they can certainly check it out there, and they can purchase it there if they like it. And I'm also working on, I've made some coats and some skirts from my collage art. I've done some upholstery, making some upholstery, like some upholstered a chair. So I'm kind of trying to like build into what that's going to be. And I think that I will probably be presenting that on my website at some point, and also maybe on Instagram. My Instagram is at Melora Hardin, but I also have an Instagram that's going to be storyboards, because my wallpaper is called Storyboards by Melora Hardin, and are my clothing items. So yeah, so I'm developing storyboards, and what that's going to all entail, I don't know, but it's really exciting right now.
That's so cool. And I've seen your wallpapers. They're gorgeous and so unique. So I hope everyone goes and checks them out.
Yes, me too.
And for our viewers, Golden Vanity will be screening at the opening night of the festival this Thursday, September 21st at 8 p.m. at the AMC 16 Burbank, and will be followed by a Q&A with Melora, director Max Abram, and more of the filmmakers. For tickets, visit burbankfilmfest.org. Melora, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me and for sharing about what went into creating your incredible performance of Mabel. I hope you have a great day, and we will see you very soon at the festival.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you.